In this lesson, we will take a look at common weaknesses and how to fix them. I made a list of the things that I'm always looking out for, and I will leave this list in the attachments for you. Let's just take a look at this list together. Something I'm always looking out for is, are things too even? For example, in this painting, I feel like my stems here, they are all the same. They all have the same direction and they are spaced evenly. So this is something I would really want to change up. And here again, I was just too even with them. Maybe it will help to just change some directions of the stems. And I could make some parts darker so they are receding more into the background. Now I will look if colors are sticking out in my painting. So I will just look out for colors that are too intense and are not fitting inside of the whole picture. For example, I feel like this flower here and this flower here, they are sticking out a bit, but I think it might not be because of the color. It might be because of edges. This is another point on the list. Otherwise, I'm really happy how the colors are. Now I look if places are looking too flat in my image. Maybe here on the leaf, it could be a little bit too flat, or here. But the thing is, since this is not my focal point, I don't feel the need to add much more texture there. I want most of my texture to be here, and it is. Then I look, are there distracting places or edges that are drawing my eye to them, even though they are not that important? This is what I will do with these flowers here. I will just smooth a little bit the edges and make them recede more into the painting. Like this. And here, this edge I think is distracting. I pick the color and I will just smudge it a little bit with my texture brush, so it's not sticking out that much. The same with the leaves. For example, this edge here feels very prominent, even though it's not important. So I will just smudge it. Now I will look if something doesn't feel three-dimensional enough. For example, this flower here might look a little bit too flat. And what I can do to fix this is thinking through the surface, the volume of this flower, maybe make a little sketch to better understand how the petals are turning in volumes, and then think again which are the places where the light is hitting and where will be shadow. For example, I can just give this petal here a little bit more shadow on this side because my light is coming from this direction, and it will look a little bit more three-dimensional. The next step might be a little bit hard to look at because I will mirror the canvas, and this can make you see very intense mistakes. I will just go to Actions here, choose Canvas, and now I can say flip canvas horizontally, like this. And you can see that my image is tipping a little bit to the side here. And if I want to correct something like this, I will use our fixing list for a moment. I can select everything by tipping it to the right side. Then I go to the arrow, distort, and I can move the whole picture a little bit up. Just like this. Maybe this one a little bit down. So it's not tilting anymore. And if I'm happy, I can just flip the canvas back horizontally and it will look a little bit better. The next two steps are not so technical. They are more about the intention we had in mind when we started painting. Let's check, is our focal point clear? I think in this painting it's clear enough. But if we feel there might be something off with our focal point, we can always make the black and white layer visible and check the values again. Here I think it's good. The stone is reading really well against the darker parts of the plants, and I'm really happy with the focal point here. For example, if I had a lighter background here, you could see it in the values that my focal point is not reading very clearly. And we could correct this by making the background darker. And for the last step, we have to ask ourselves, is the mood we intended at the beginning coming across? If not, take a break and look at it with fresh eyes again after some time. Something I like to do is just show the picture to a friend and get some feedback for it. For example, with this picture, I asked my friend Sandra, and she told me she felt like the stone wasn't looking at the light, it was looking at the viewer. The stone looking at the light could help the mood. So I will take the smile group and just tilt it a little bit and bring it more to the edge of the stone for the stone to look better at the light. It just makes the stone look a little bit more in its safe space, in its cave, looking outside. So now I will start making the changes that I was talking about, and for that I will turn off the visibility of the atmosphere because it will be distracting for me. For example, I will just darken all this part for now because I felt this was just too distracting. And I can take this layer and move it to the background, so I don't have to paint around of the leaves that are in the foreground. And bring back some parts of it with the eraser, just to see which of them I want to have in my image and which can just barely be visible. And maybe I will just change the direction of this stem here, so we have some variety in the direction of the stems. And I will change between the texture brush and the soft brush as I see fit. And at the same time, I will smooth some of the edges that I feel are distracting. Like these edges here. And here. This will help the viewer look at the focal point. I'm still on the background layer. I will make another one more to the top. This one is distracting me. I could spend hours on this part because I really like fixing the small weaknesses and finding all the details that are distracting me. I will just doodle around a little bit and see you in a bit. Now I'm really happy how it turned out. There are no more places where I'm distracted and I feel everything is clear. I can turn on my atmosphere again and have a last look at it. Now what I will do is I close my final project. I duplicate the file. For the next step, I will just merge down all of the layers and we don't have to worry. We have the other file and there we have all the layers separately. So if we want to change something, we can always go back there. But I will now make some adjustments to color balance and brightness. And for this, it is really handy to have everything on one layer. Now I will duplicate this layer so we still have the original and we can toggle between the changes we make and the original. And I will go to Adjustments First, I want to check the curves. And here, I can adjust the reds, the greens, and the blues. And on this side, we have all the darker colors. So if I change this one, I will change the darker colors to, for example, more red, because red is checked here. And on this side, we have the lighter colors, and I can change them here to less red, for example. I will just play around with it a little bit until it feels good for me. I think I will have a little bit more red in the shadows. It's feeling more warmer. And some less greens. This feels right for me. So let's check how the changes were we made, or if we like the original better. No, I think I like the changes I made. So I will again copy this layer. And now I will go to color balance. And here I can again adjust the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights, and can move them a little bit more to the cyan or to green or magenta. So it's a bit like we did in the previous step, but here we have more control. And we can adjust a little bit more finely. And the highlights. I like the highlights with more red. Now again, let's check the changes I made by toggling the layer on and off. It feels more warm and more welcoming. So I think I'm okay now with the adjustments. And now I will show you one last trick that I really like to use in all of my paintings. So I will create a mid-tone gray. I can just choose this and write 50 in this field, and it's a mid-tone. Now I will grab this color, bring it on my canvas. By going to adjustments again, I can select noise and layer. And here I have some slides that will help me make a grain texture. For making this visible, I will slide my finger to the right side. This one is very textury. I don't want it to be that much. I can adjust the scale here. Now my noise is black and white. And it can be nice to have more colors in it, so I will choose multi. And you will see that the dots are colored now. I will just play a little bit with the slides until it feels like a nice grain. Now I choose the layer modes and overlay. And you see, I have a very intense grain here. It's much too intense. I will go down with the opacity until it feels just right. Like this. So this is really nice because it makes my painting look less digital and more analog. So now I have my illustration finished. I'm really happy how it turned out. And now I will export it. I go to Actions, select Share, and now I have different options. For example, the Procreate and PSD option will give me files with layers in it. The Procreate to open it on other iPads or iPhones. The PSD for open it on personal computers in Photoshop. Or we have a JPEG, and this is perfect for exporting your work to social media, for example. You will have a flattened image that is a little bit compressed, so it's not a big file, and you can easily upload it to other platforms. I can just save my image to my camera roll. So this was the last lesson of the content, but stick around because we have one more video. In this video, I will show you some tips and tricks to achieve your final project.